My name is Naomi Sereno Sanchez, and today I will be giving a speech on strawman fallacy, what it is, how it's used, and the impact it has on discussion and debates. Imagine you're in a heated debate about climate change and your opponent suddenly says to you, "So you think we should stop using fossil fuels altogether immediately and go back to living in caves?" This exaggerated misrepresentation of your position is a classic example of strawman fallacy. Understanding strawman fallacy can help you identify and counteract misleading arguments and discussions, leading to more productive and honest debates. With extensive research on logical fallacies and critical thinking, I have gained insight into how these tactics are used in various forms of communication, from politics to everyday conversations that you and me have on an everyday encounter. The strawman fallacy is a common but deceptive tactic in arguments that misrepresents the opponent's position to make it easier to attack, and recognizing it is crucial for effective communication. It will help every person once they understand what strawman fallacy is. Today, we'll explore three main points about this fallacy. One, what the strawman fallacy is and how it works, examples of strawman fallacy and real-life scenarios that we encounter every single day, strategies to identify and counteract the strawman fallacy in discussions will be our last point. Let's begin by defining what the strawman fallacy is and understanding the mechanics to help us better understand what the fallacy is and how we can use it in our everyday lives or help recognize it. The strawman fallacy occurs when someone distorts or oversimplifies an opponent's arguments to make it easier to attack. This definition was found from Logical Fallacies, the Ultimate Collection by Albert Rutherford. This fallacy can be intentional or unintentional, but always results in misrepresentation of its original argument. And this was gathered from Critical Thinking, a student's introduction by Gregory Basham. Now that we understand what strawman fallacy is, let's look at the next part, which is real life scenarios that can occur to every one of us. In political debates, candidates often use man arguments to discredit their opponents. For example, a politician might say, "My opponent wants to cut all defense spending, leaving our country vulnerable," when the opponent only suggested something very simple, and that's reducing specific military expenses. And this was gathered from Analyzing Political Rhetoric by Martin Knight. It was a good example, and I thought that it fit perfectly to explain the strawman fallacy. Strawman arguments are also common in social media discussions, and this is something that I know that we see every day, where complex viewpoints are frequently oversimplified for the sake of arguments. This one connection to social media and how it provokes, I know we encounter it on an everyday basis, and this was gathered from the Social Media Wars: How Public Opinion is Manipulated by Jennifer Lee. With these examples in mind, let's discuss how to identify and counteract what the strawman fallacy is in discussions that we have every day. One effective strategy is to ask clarifying questions to ensure you understand your opponent's actual position before responding. This helps the discussion go way smoother and for both parts to be heard out. And this one strategy was gathered from How to Win Every Argument: The Use and Abuse of Logic by Madison Prior. I think it's a great example because if we all learn how to just use simply clarifying questions to gather what the other person is saying, we can have more effective conversations leading to less misunderstandings and really understanding each other's viewpoint. Another strategy is to restate your opponent's argument accurately and then address the actual points made. This strategy I know a lot of people try to do when they're having a discussion, and I have done so myself, and I have gathered that it is very effective. When you're able to restate what your opponent is clearly saying to you, you can let them know, like, clearly you understand what is being said, and therefore this gives each other, like, you give each other that reassurance that you're being heard. This tactic, I read it from Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. By applying these strategies, you can improve the quality of your discussions and avoid falling into this trap of strawman fallacy. With just simple strategies like these, and there are a ton more, you can learn and help identify more quicker what strawman fallacy is and not fall into it with your opponent. This helps both of you guys have a point in your discussion and to make the discussion go just so much smoother. In summary, we have discussed what strawman fallacy is, we have provided real life examples of how it's used, and outlined strategies to identify and counteract it. Recognizing and avoiding the straw man fallacy is essential for engaging in honest and effective communication. The key to everyone being heard is to always have effective communication, and knowing simple things like this fallacy and ways to prevent it will help us have those honest conversations that I know we all have the goal of reaching. Next time you find yourself in a debate, remember to look out for strawman fallacy in the argument and address them with clarity and precision. If you're ever in a discussion where you feel like strawman fallacy might be used, you should help the other person understand what strawman fallacy is if they don't already know how to do so, and then help them and guide them into making the conversation go a little different and helping the communication be a little different by giving them small strategies to avoid this fallacy. This will lead to more meaningful and constructive discussions. So just next time you're in a discussion or a conversation with another person, remember what strawman fallacy is, the ways that you can prevent it, and how it's used. Once prevented, you'll see how different the discussion actually goes. So just remember to always use it, and remember that communication is effective for us being able to understand each other. And as long as that's always remembered in the back of your head, conversations will always go so much smoother. Thank you so much for your time.